to get our voices heard. When you go to church, do you speak up and say amen? All right, let's hear. Hear our voice.
Hear the voice of the masses.
Hear our voice.
Particularly in the black community. Relative to this mayor, Kirkwinkle versus Lori Lightfoot. This is Wednesday, 13th of March. Nice crowd.
We're going to get started tonight. Obviously, this is about you and yours and hear our voices. I would have thought the mayoral candidates might get here on time just because they can be quiet for about 90 minutes listening to all of us, but they're not here yet. So how the program goes will depend a little bit on when they arrive. So I just want to kind of start off. This is a historic election, and we know that. And way back in December, AARP did a survey, and it noted that 51% of the people who responded said it's very important for the next mayor to be a leader of multicultural or other background who represent groups often overlooked in politics. And 49% said it was very important to have a newcomer with fresh ideas. So I'd just like to start off by asking the panel, what does it show about voters' mindsets? They place such a high value on those two characteristics, and did those characteristics play out in who they selected to send to run?
Also, WDON's Mays Jackson.
I always start with you. I think we're all good.
Oh, no, that was my mic, I'm sorry. Okay, so I would say what stands out to me is that we are talking about, frankly, voters that are 50. They poll voters that are 50 and older. Okay. I would expect them to have a different set of values when it comes to the election than younger voters. But throughout the election cycle, I think I've heard from people who said the same thing, and they were much younger than 50 years old. They wanted change. They wanted something different to occur. They wanted a fresh start. They talked about primarily having someone who could bring the city together. Because what we've heard from the last election, the previous election, and during this election cycle, is that there are two Chicagos. There's the Chicago that's on the north side and downtown. There's the Chicago that's the west side, represented by the west side and the south side. And I think people, frankly, were very sick of hearing that. They want someone that's less divisive and someone that would bring the city together. So I think the most surprising thing that jumps out at me is that the city, that poll represents a view that I expected to see just from young people, but we see older people feel the same way.
Yeah, let me take a little. So this survey follows on the heels of a statewide survey that AARP commissioned right in front of the gubernatorial race, and it echoes many of the very same things. And that poll, by the way, that survey was of voters 25 and older. So to your point, no, the city one was city plus, but everyone across all ages were saying statewide, citywide, that they are looking for change, but most importantly, I mean, there's specific issues, but they are looking for problem solvers. They're tired of the rhetoric. They have specific issues they want the candidates to address. And I'll say, fortunately, I think there's enough that's been going on that they see also the opportunity, and again, for all of us, to raise our voices and demand, solutions is really what these surveys said that, really, time's up in a lot of ways for politics as usual, and we want fresh, and we want problem solvers and people who can work together to solve problems, certainly in Chicago, but statewide as well.
Mark, what do you think?
I think Hayes wants to jump in.
I'm going to save it the best for last. Okay. I saw the video pictures from it.
Chicago, obviously, it's been a minority city for some time. It doesn't surprise me that voters would want to see that multiculturalism reflected in their leaders, and at the very least want them to show some respect for who their voters are. So I guess that I didn't find that to be a very surprising finding.
It's just interesting, given the number of candidates involved, how prescient that survey is, and it actually played out that way. I mean, we all were bracing for, I think, chaos and bedlam on election night, And I think the election sort of played out exactly like the survey sort of indicated it would, Mays.
Yeah, you know, I think when you look in, and I'm going to speak specifically to the Black community, I think when you talk about the need for change, for so long, our issues for Black people have been melded with those of the Democratic Party, and when we drive through our neighborhoods, they don't seem to be getting better. And so I think when we talk about this election and we talk about people wanting change, specifically in our community, I think there's not a tale of two cities. There's really a tale of three cities, because we see kind of the downtown area, we see what's happening on the Black components of the South and West sides, but then we also see the thriving of other communities, particularly the Latino community, that is also eating into our space.
It's amazing. Don't you find it interesting that neither Toni Preckwinkle or Lori Lightfoot really ran as the Black candidate, as a Black candidate? I mean, that's part of...
You trying to get me in trouble already?
I am.
Are you trying to get me in trouble already?
Mays and I, we go back.
We go way back. So I'm gonna say that we woke up, I remember on election night, I was in the WVON studios, and as the election returns were coming in, a lot of our callers were saying, dang, we thought we were gonna have a chance to elect a Black mayor. And then after it kind of settled in, then we were like, oh wait, we have the chance to elect, we have two opportunities to elect a Black mayor. But I think what you're speaking to is the fact that neither of those candidates made the Black community a priority in their campaigns. One, I think Lori Lightfoot did not think that she would have the Black community. I think there was a lot of narrative in the press that said, oh, the Black people won't accept her because she's LGBT, what about the Black pastors? And then on the flip side, I think Madam Preckwinkle probably assumed that she had the Black vote to an extent.
But I didn't see a lot of coverage of the whole sexual orientation issue with Lori Lightfoot. I didn't see that. I mean, there may have been a couple of columns someone wrote about getting the LGBT community behind Lori Lightfoot, but I thought the press did a really an outstanding job in not making that the center of the issue.
I think there's the traditional press, which has a view, but I also think that really most of the people that I talk to now are getting their information from social and digital. And so when you watch what was happening in that space, there was a lot of talk about the LGBT, the pastors, and I think that what we don't see a lot of times is there's a whole nother playground as it relates to dealing with these elections.
All right, well, moving back to some of the issues that we're going to get into tonight, Rosanna, in the same survey, 68% of folks said they'd heard about someone talking about leaving Chicago. And the key issues, and we're going to hear more about them tonight, that would force them to leave Chicago: crime, public safety, affordability, affordable housing, the city's financial problems, and lagging schools. What does that say about the electorate heading in April 2nd?
Yeah, well, so what it certainly says, we, again, on the heels of that state survey, we were not surprised by some of these numbers. It's consistent with, statewide, folks are saying, statewide folks said 75% know someone who's seriously thinking of leaving the state. Almost half are themselves thinking of leaving the state. In Chicago, we said it was 68% know of someone. In Chicago, 44% of the people that we surveyed said they themselves were seriously considering leaving the city. And why? And they're not just talking. Illinois, for the third year in a row, has the second highest out-migration of any state in the country. We top the country in losing college students to other folks. So people are leaving with it, and why? So to start to get at the issues, what our survey showed was, 87% said public safety is the #1 issue. And what they want to hear, again, back to, they don't care about a lot of the demographic aspects of whoever the mayor is. They want a problem solver who's going to tell them how they're going to reduce crime in their neighborhoods. So that's #1, right? And then, another 80% said affordability. And it's housing, it's taxes, it's utility bills. Again, overwhelmingly, people are saying, this is so much, I'm falling behind, I think I'm worse off than I was 10 years ago, sort of almost unrelentingly. The survey folks said it's gotten so bad that I'm seriously thinking about leaving. So a lot of numbers there. But again, to bring this back, this is about hearing from all of you. So let's now turn, tell those stories. Let's hear from you, fill out those cards, but let's get at what do those numbers really mean? What's that mean for you? Tell us, please, why you are among that 44% who are thinking about or know something who's actually done this.
Well, and frankly, the census numbers play it out that African Americans are leaving Chicago. Lise, what do you hear from folks about why they're leaving? Do you think it's going to continue under the next mayor?
I think if the next mayor does not have a plan specifically to address black people, the outward migration of black people, I think it will continue. I think when you talk about public city services, safety and education, those are the bread and butter issues, no matter, I think that those will come up in any case. What I am hearing from black folks is the job opportunities are not here, the taxes are too high, and now they're getting priced out of their homes. So they moved from the south side to the south suburbs or the Southland, and then when they get to the Southland, because they thought that was kind of the land of milk and honey, that they had arrived, well, now the property values have fallen out of that, and they're saying, let me leave this and let me go to Texas. Think about the reverse migration, and people are going back south for those opportunities.
Mark or Mary, what do you think?
Well, I know that for the African American community, the reverse migration has been going on for a while. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, yes, if you can't find a job here, what brought people to the north? They couldn't find work, they couldn't feed their families, they couldn't thrive, and so they came to the north. Well, if you're in a city like Chicago and you can't do those things, you're going to find someplace else to go. Here's the problem, though, and the one that we have not really, I think, wrestled with and dealt with, is that while African Americans are moving to different places, where they're going south, or they're going back to Texas, or going to Mississippi, or other places, you're going to find that another population, white people, are really moving back into areas that we are now abandoning, right? They really are. And so, where at one time you went outside and you walked down the street and you saw black people, now you're walking down the street in neighborhoods traditionally that were predominantly black, you are seeing more whites. They are buying properties. They are moving into areas of the city that we have abandoned. And so the goal has to be, how do we make these neighborhoods more livable and affordable for black people? Why do black people have to leave in order for the neighborhood to become better? In order for you to invest. I live in a neighborhood. I live in South Shore. I live in a place where we're still waiting for a grocery store, for God's sake. I think that's something we have not dealt with and that we need to deal with, and that you're seeing reflected in the frustration of this election.
The only thing I would say is it's not abandoned. We don't abandon neighborhoods.
Right,
the neighborhoods, we're being pushed out of them.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. Systemic thought process that says, like, if we look at what's happening in Inglewood. Inglewood, the violence went through the roof. All you heard was Inglewood, Inglewood, Inglewood. We all were like, we got to get out of here. And now you look and you see that it's being repopulated. Right. So it's not abandoned. It is, and I think Chris Kennedy hit it on the head. Nobody really wanted to talk about it. But there is really a plan to move us out.
I hear you. I see it. But I would like to see whatever that plan is. If you know what that plan is, where I can find that plan, where they put the plan, I would like to see that plan.
I think it's as simple as, I think it's as simple as of Chicago. You think about, just real quick, if you look at the Dan Ryan goes 3 miles out of its way to protect natural racial lines of segregation. They pushed us into places and increased you've seen it in every community across the country where the violence spikes, everything goes crazy. You see all these bad stories. We run because we're on TV crying like, oh my God, this neighborhood is terrible. And then you see somebody else, they build a Whole Foods, and that Whole Foods is not for us. So let's be clear, no, there's no written plan that says execute the black people. But was there a written plan for slavery? No! Was there a written plan for Jim Crow?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Say that part.
All right. So against this backdrop, this is what this mayor, our first African-American woman mayor in the city's history, is going to be entering into. Is the first 100 days of that next administration critical to sort of calming the city down? I think we've heard downtowns versus the neighborhood a lot under Ron. I mean, if you're mayor, what would you do in the first 100 days?
Mark! Yeah! Fix it, Mark!
They gave us questions to prepare us. And I was just asking how to do that. How am I going to start?
I just made Mark Brown mayor.
I saw both mayoral candidates answer this question yesterday, I guess, at the Tribune. Lori Lightfoot had an answer about what she was going to sit down with the police superintendent, and I don't remember what Tony's answer was. And I don't, come on, man. No, it's not going to, nothing's going to be solved in 100 days. We got as I listen here, and this has kind of been helpful to me just to hear your response to this question. Whenever this issue comes up of people leaving Illinois, this is a narrative that's really pushed by the Tribune, and it was pushed by Bruce Ryan, and it really ticks me off because I don't think they're. With all due respect to the Tribune folks, I don't think they're always thinking about you. That's not what that's their demographic. And so I chafe at that because I have, for one, I moved back into the city, and I'm not moving anybody out, but because I'm on that nice North Lakefront where but I don't know what.
I don't think there's a solution in the first 100 days. How about that? There's no solution in the first 100 days.
Are there any millennials in the audience?
I'm sure.
Any millennials?
Yes.
Okay. Now, thank you for coming. This next question is not designed to throw shade on the millennials. So, I just want to say that we don't want to upset our millennial friends in the audience. However, Mary wrote about this, and then folks got a little uppity about this with you after you wrote it. I mean,
Uppity is understatement.
Understatement.
Okay.
You folks should all see Mary Mitchell's email inbox every day. It's quite the sight. But obviously with Amara and Chance the Rapper having a lot of engagement, there was this thought that this could be a millennial election, and millennial turnout would be at a record clip. And there's an argument in some ways that it happened, but 52% of voters that came out on February 26th were 55 and older. What does it say about our city that that's the case? And does this benefit either Tony or Lori in the next round?
So first, let me say that when I wrote my column about the turnout, it was really like an hour after the polls had closed. And all day long, we were looking for this rush of millennials and young people to the polls. Now, why was that? Because young people, millennials, have led the charge for change in the city of Chicago, beginning with the protest over police shootings. They have led the charge, and you have to give them that. And secondly, as part of that charge, they put it out there that what they wanted to happen, activists said what they wanted to happen is that the people in City Hall and City Council, those elected officials, and particularly black elected officials, who stood by and allowed the Chicago Police Department to support this police misconduct that resulted